Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tech Talk. I'm Dr. Cris Wildermuth, and I love technology. So I thought I would start again my imperfect videos showing you some of the technology that I love and that I actually use. Whenever it is a technology that has offered me something such as a free subscription or something like that, I will let you know. However, just so that you know how the process works, I am not nobody calls me and asks me to endorse their product. I basically find the products on my own. And the most that I ask is sometimes a free account so that I can use it with my students, so that I can try it for size, that kind of thing. I don't have, at this point, any kind of affiliate programs, and I don't make any money if you use that particular account or you don't. So just so that you know what's going on. So today, what I'm going to be talking about are virtual rooms. And when you think of virtual rooms, you could think of Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever. Teams is actually a good example because you can actually see whether your colleagues are online, whether there's a little green button and shows that they're there. But what I have found with Teams, and they do use Teams in my organization, is that it works quite well. The video is good, the sound is good. I mean, it's fine. But it doesn't really tell me if my colleague has somebody else at the office with them, if my colleague went to the water cooler area to get some water. It tells me it's green, which means that they were probably there a little while ago, but it does not give me any sense of proximity. And here's the thing, I should know, I work 100% of the time virtually. I live in near Orlando, Florida, and the headquarters of my university is in Miami Shores. So I'm always away from my colleagues, and a lot of my colleagues I have only met virtually. I haven't even seen them face to face in almost 3 years at Barry University now. So for me, the idea of having a room in which I could actually know where my colleagues are and have a glimpse of what their offices look like is very attractive. And I have been experimenting with this type of thing, like little virtual offices with avatars, with pictures and so on for a while. And I used various. The one that I'm going to show you today is called Kumospace. Kumospace is it's not exactly an avatar room. What you have is your little picture that moves around. You can customize it. You can make it bigger. I'm the only person in my university who uses it, as far as I know, so I don't see my colleagues in there. And the way that I use it is I open my office in the morning when I start to work on something else, if I'm doing administrative work or research, and then I share the link with my students, and I tell them, hey, if you want to come visit me, you can. Full disclosure, I did write Kumospace, and they offered me a free account so that I could experiment and use with my students. So that's Kumospace. Let me show you how the site works. Okay, so here is my Kumospace area. You can probably see that I have two videos in here, the video that I have in the system that I'm using, and I'm going to introduce that system later on in another video, and then the video that I have open in my laptop when I use it with my students. What I tell my students is, hey, you use your arrows and you come straight into my room, and what I do is I hang out here. A few fun details. Notice that I could customize my space. The microphone here is used when I have all of my students in the classroom in various rooms, and I want to talk to everybody at the same time. So see, if I click here, I would be broadcasting to everybody in the world. So if I have, for example, students who are in different rooms working in teamwork or something like that, I can talk to all of them at the same time. Another fun detail is that you can actually eat a donut or coffee or drink coffee or have, I don't know, boba tea or whatever as you're talking to people, because they're like these little fun details. They're kind of silly, but my students enjoy them. And also, you don't have to see each other this small. If you click on the gallery, then you see people about this size. You are able to share your screen if you want to, just like you would be in any kind of other system. So it works similarly to a different system. By the way, here's how you eat a donut. There, see? Oops. There. So you continue eating the donut until the donut is over. There. I'm not sure that this is a particularly important feature, but it's kind of fun. We show you around. And this, of course, is a highly customized room. You can see my little dog over here. And then my other dog over here. I have a little lounge, I guess, at the opening where I can meet with people. I created a bunch of little rooms on purpose just so that if I ever teach here, my students can go into different rooms and have meetings. I have a larger conference room here featuring my cat and coffee. So see, yeah, I don't want this coffee anymore. Whoops, let me get out of here. I have another microphone in here. And then I created this big room here on the right if I have everybody with me at the same time, and I have some extra rooms at the bottom. You can link, you can't go through the walls, by the way, so that's why sometimes I stop. You can link to YouTube videos, by the way, in case you're noticing the Disney piano collection over here, and you're probably, if you haven't noticed yet, there's a Mickey behind me. I'm a huge Disney fan. I live close to the parks, and I'm a quintessential Disney adult and Disney nerd with every Disney, little trinket that you can imagine. So just if you were wondering why I have a Disney Mickey Mouse there, it is on purpose. All right. So that's what I wanted to show in terms of the Kumospace. If you wanted to customize it, it's pretty easy. You just click and customize, and then you can change the seating. Like, I don't know why it's not clicking right now. I guess it's taking a little while because I'm using a lot of memory recording this. So you can change the seats, you can change the way the room looks, you can put other rooms, you can change what is heard in the room, and so on. And by the way, Kumospace, like many of these other of these types of rooms, it uses spatial sound. So, for example, you see this circle over here. I would only be able to hear people around the circle, and people in the circle would be able to hear and see me, and we would be able to see each other. If we clicked on gallery, all of us would show up. But people who are on this room, for example, the one with the little green things, would not hear what people in this area are saying. The other interesting thing is that inside, if you are inside the room, there is a private space. So people outside that room cannot hear what you're saying inside the room. And you can even close the door. And if you close the door, people have to knock on the door to get into the room. So you can have a private conversation. And then to get out of the room, you just close your browser. So imagine if you can, let me see if I can make this a little smaller so that you have a sense of the whole room. This can be much larger. And imagine, if you can, a group of little offices, and you would know if Mary happens to be there. You would know if Mary happens to be having a conversation with John over there, because you can see both of them inside Mary's office. So this is not the time in which you would go there and talk to them. There could, at this point, you could say, well, what about privacy? Everybody's going to know that I'm having a meeting. Yes. So you need to balance that and figure out if for your team, this is something that would be helpful. For a tight-knit team that actually does need to work together and people are all over the world, I find this much more user-friendly, and I don't know, it feels closer than, for example, Microsoft Teams. Incidentally, Kumospace is not the only player in the block. I did explore various other tools. I used to use one before Kumospace called Bramble that I loved, but unfortunately Bramble called. There is one called Verbella that, unlike Kumospace, what they use are actual avatars, like cartoon-like things. Verbella is way more expensive, though, so it's more for, I'd say, larger organizations. And then there's one called Topia that is also quite interesting and very customizable. I liked Kumospace because it was very easy to set up. There are lots of templates, and I could modify the templates, and I could set myself up very fast. Let me show you what the pricing is for Kumospace. All right, let's talk pricing. If you want to create just to try this for size and to use it with a small team of up to 5 registered members, the members are the ones who would be in your team on like in the room all the time. It's free. You can get your space, you can click here, you can create one. If you want to use it with more people, or you want to have guests that will stay there for more than 3 hours, I think 3 hours is the limit per month. So if you're going to run lots of presentations or things like that, then it costs $16 per user per month. One thing I do not know, and you would have to contact them to find out. By the way, all these things are directly from their page, and I have no relationship with this company, so you would need to call them for details. But if you call them for details, ask them how long, if you pay $16 per user per month, how many hours can a guest stay in the room? And that's important, because if you're going to use Kumospace to run presentations or webinars or whatnot, then it would be important to know. I'll talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages later. And then, of course, if you're going to be using with tons of people in a larger organization, then you need to talk to them about details. So next, I'm going to share, from my perception, my experience, what are the pros and the cons of using a tool such as Kumospace, or Kumospace specifically. The biggest pro to me is feeling a little closer to my colleagues. I would love it if the colleagues with whom I work closer or more closely, if they used something like Kumospace, so that I could quickly walk to somebody's office and say, hey, I have a quick question. It would feel much less isolating than it does working online, if something like that were available to my colleagues and I. And I'll talk a little bit about why don't we do that, since it's free for up to 5 people in a moment when I talk about the cons. And the other pro is that I've run lots of webinars and I've taught classes using traditional Teams, Zoom, and so on. What I love about Kumospace is how easy it is for me to tell my students, hey, you guys, go into the different rooms, go to whatever room you want, spend 15 minutes there. I'm going to call you when I'm ready to come back to the big office. And they just go. I don't need to set things up. I don't need to change it. If somebody's, I don't know, their internet fails and their computer crashes and they're out of the room and then they come back, I don't need to do anything. They come back in and they go to wherever their group is. They can see the little images, the little photos of their group members. They know where they are. When I go back to the main room to meet with everybody, everybody can see me move. And then, of course, I can use that microphone that I showed you to call everybody back. So that part I really love. And I would love to basically train my students to be able to use Kumospace instead of Teams, just so that I would have that ability, the ability to divide them into break rooms easily. And by the way, I'm speaking from the perspective of an online professor who teaches synchronous weekly classes using Teams. It would be amazing if I could use Kumospace all the time. So you might ask, why don't you? I mean, you have the tool, right? So what is the problem? So here's the biggest con. People are creatures of habit, and not everybody finds technology as fun as I do. And people are used to Teams or Zoom or WebEx or whatever it is that they use. And it's not necessarily that they don't want to learn something new. It's that learning something new takes time and effort. And when they're coming into a new class, everything is already new and different. And people get flustered and nervous, and they don't really want to learn something new. So I would say Kumospace is really good for regular teams and regular classes. For example, I could imagine myself I'm a program director for the organizational leadership program, bachelor's program for learning adults, and the master's in leadership and innovation. I could imagine having an orientation class for all my students and saying, hey guys, this class is specifically for you to learn how to use Kumospace because our classes are going to be here. Over time, my students would get used to that. They would come to class, it would be fine. Or if you work with your team in a place like Kumospace, obviously everybody will get used to it. And after a while, it feels second nature. It feels as normal as Teams. I would be a little more leery of using Kumospace for random webinars or presentations in which you have people who are not used to the system. Not because it's hard to learn, it really isn't, but because people may resist using a different technology, especially if they're not terribly comfortable with the first technology in the first place. So that's it, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Kumospace, for allowing me to use this space with my students. I really appreciate it. And everyone, next time I'm going to create a video to show you the system that I'm using right now to record this video called, yes, it does have that weird name. All right, until next video, everybody. Have a great day and happy learning.